Welcome to Doing Business in the Inland Empire, where opportunity meets action in one of Southern California's fastest growing regions. I am John Heaton with Heaton & Associates Insurance Services, and in every episode, we dive into strategies, stories, and real-world lessons from entrepreneurs, innovators, and the community leaders driving the Inland Empire forward. Today's guest is Steve Busby, owner of PBLA Engineering and PBLA Surveying. They've been in business for 15 years. When I first got to know Steve, PBLA had an office and a storage facility in Calimesa with 10 to 15 employees. Now they have 4 locations, over 100 employees, with offices in Orange County, Redlands, and in LA County. Steve, with the help of his partner, took an idea, expertise, and a ton of hard work, and has carved out a nice little space in the engineering and survey world. And then, personal note, I got to know Steve outside of the office pretty well because we coached our son's baseball teams for years. As a result, I got to see a different side of Steve, a softer side, an extremely generous side. So, Steve, welcome today. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me here.
This is the inaugural podcast that I'm doing. First time I'm doing it. So, the first person I thought of to speak with, who I wanted to be my first guest, was like, let's got to have Steve on. That's where I got to start.
That's only because I'm a disaster and have so many stories to tell you. I get it.
Yep, that's right. So first off, tell me about PBLA. What do you guys do? Kind of a brief synopsis of PBLA.
Let's go back in time. I worked for a surveying and engineering firm since 2000. 2008, we had a down economy. And in that down economy, I happened to be the one that was bringing in work to the company. We needed to find a way to keep cash flow coming into that company. I was an employee at the company, was mentored by 2 great owners. The 2 owners cared a ton about the actual people that worked there. They spent too much time caring about the people that they actually ended up letting the business fail because they were supporting the people versus supporting the clientele. And obviously with economy, there's no other way that this can really take place. In the sense of them going and getting work because there wasn't a ton of work, but they could have spent the extra time to make sure that the key employees stayed around.
Yeah.
During that time, I went for a job interview. I got several opportunities to move and transition, and I brought him to one of the owners, and he said it's an opportunity for him and I to start a business together. And at that time, it was odd because I always think of myself as an employee. Even today, I think of myself as an employee. So the opportunity arose that I could separate from the company I was working for with the owner of the company and start PBLA. January 2010, we opened our doors as Pardue, Busby, Levacy, and Associates, hence the PBLA name. The goal was driven on just taking care of our own families. We had no intention of having a ton of employees.
That's how we always start.
A ton of future problems that are great problems to have now, but
Right.
Then we never even anticipated these types of problems that we deal with, from just dealing with you with insurance, taxes, and all the other items that come across running a business. We were really good and very oriented towards the residential market. One of my goals was that we were going to be a home-based office. We'd have multiple locations for home bases. When we brought in employees, we would start home base. We never anticipated having physical structures. Here we sit today with 4 physical structures and probably a 5th one in the high desert here soon. The goals and the ideas that we initially started with were great ideas to get the business off the ground. It took several changes, several ideas, several different types of goals to move forward into what we are today. And those transitions have been, growing pains for myself personally, growing pains for us as people, with the employees. I've learned how to become more of a mentor to employees versus, hurry up and get it done as a boss or as an owner.
Well, I tell you, from outside looking in, I've kind of been in the inside with you a little bit, but it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch it grow. And one thing you mentioned, especially with the initial company that you worked for, you mentioned balance. There was a poor balance between how they treated employees and how they treated your clients. Mm-hmm. It was kind of employee favored, right? So it probably alienated your clients, is what it sounds like. How do you find that balance? Where does that balance come from? And where is the balance? Is there a balance? How does that work how do you guys do that?
Well, I think the initial part is hiring, the hiring process, and making sure that you have, especially in upper management, people that have struggled through the hard times, struggled at some point in their life with something, that they're able to overcome those and be able to help the people around them become more successful, and they take the ownership and they take the loyalty to heart. Yeah. Versus just getting a paycheck and moving forward in their day-to-day. We also brand ourselves as the experience of what we're doing to our employees. So we're not just engineering a new baseball stadium, or we're not just engineering, a shopping center or a large industrial complex, 1,000,000 square foot building. What we're doing is the 1,000,000 square foot building, we're putting tons of people to work so that we can get a package delivered to our house. And And the experience of, hey, you see a package come in every single day to your house, especially us with wives. We have tons of packages that come in, right?
Amazon.
Amazon packages are coming in. That comes from a warehouse that we built,
Right.
or that we designed.
Right.
From the utility side, we look at miles and miles. We have over 2,000 base mapping projects. All of those projects are all the setup and initial starting of planning to actually design electricity to someone's house and to someone's business. So we provide electricity in our own way in that small part of the big game, and we implement that, and we explain it to our employees how big the picture is of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That baseball field or that soccer field is how we actually develop the next round of youth.
So one thing you mentioned is you're trying to look for employees that have gone through the pain. So a lot of the new guys, the younger generation, they have not. They've not felt that pain yet.
It's the hardest thing. Read a ton of books.
Yeah.
Ton of books on how to do, the best part about the younger group is they're used to instant information.
Yeah.
They can make adjustments to instant information. But how do you find the motivation when there's instant gratification?
Right. They've never had to work for anything.
When I started this job, it took 3 guys to run a survey crew. Guys were still using pen and Mylar to actually draw out plans. These kids come in and in a month, they're doing 90% of that task as a startup. And They want that instant gratification. So, hey, I figured this out. What's my next thing to figure out?
Right.
Versus the grind. And
Right.
and everything that you do is a grind. I mean, to show up and do the same thing over and over repetitively is a grind. So our diversification allows them to change from one group of clientele, whether it's a sports park or whether it's survey or whether it's design for an engineering or designing sewer or water or hydro plants. They get an opportunity to work on different pieces. And we have to push the younger group to start moving around to help them engage them with that instant gratification.
So constantly moving them, constantly moving them around. That makes sense. Because for us, what's kind of the old timers, we've been, if you've been around from 2005 to 2012, you experienced a grind. You experienced a major grind. I know I did in my business. I know you did. We've talked extensively in the past about what you've been through. So going back to the early years of PBLA, what's one mistake that you made that you're still shaking your head about? Like, you can't believe I did that.
Not starting in an office sooner.
Really?
Yes.
So thinking you're going to, because your goal was to be home-based.
Correct.
Right. And you want to stay at home as long. Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah. The ability to conversate and work on a problem together is much simpler than trying to figure it out by yourself.
Okay. What about Zoom and all these other ways?
Those
that
weren't available then. That really wasn't a thing for us. We had this thing called GoToMeeting. It was hunky-dory. We went back and forth. And there wasn't the applications like Teams that we have now. But the expertise, knowledge that came from the older group, the experienced group, I should say, because there's some very young people that are very experienced and give their knowledge away. Those people we weren't in touch with on a day-to-day basis, as they worked. And starting the office and being able to collaborate as a group changes the way the product ends up getting done. And it's for the better good of the client, which is the most important thing.
Well, I think it's good for morale. I know today's youth, for some reason, they tend to want to be remote. I don't think they've ever been in an office. I think that's something they've missed. And there is something about having the guy next to you, and you put your lunch pails on the table and you're doing it together, as opposed to doing it on a screen together. It's a big difference, when you throw a spit wad at a guy,
Agreed.
as opposed to just look at him or make faces at him on a camera.
No, and one of the things is, Jerry. Jerry Anhorn's 45 years in the survey industry.
Your uncle?
My uncle, the one that got me into this work. And that wealth of knowledge as a licensed surveyor and what he's capable to get out there of the history, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, how we came across with the railroad and survey, how land subdivided and all this just historic stuff, plus the technical side and the pride that he takes in developing that, he has to be around. And I think the younger group is almost scared to go talk to a person like Jerry, because Jerry's quick with his answers. He's on point, and he's not sure if they're there because they want instant gratification. They think Jerry's going to give him the ultimate answer. Jerry's going to give them everything to lead up to going and find out research themselves.
Yep, exactly. So talking about employees, let's keep talking about that. And I know that's an issue. We're focusing on Inland Empire, but it's really all over Southern California that people deal with hiring employees. And we've talked in length about this in the past. Those people don't know, I help Steve with his HR support. And so we talk about hiring all the time. And you have a different style. Your business partners have a different style. So kind of talk about really the three different styles that your business, that you guys have at PBLA that works, that they all work together to make PBLA what it is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest parts about being employed at PBLA is the three different styles.
Sure.
All three of us have completely separate styles. I believe in the ground up version that you can take someone out of high school and you can teach them the actual ropes out in the field, bring them into the office.
Because that's what you did.
And go all the way through, because that's what I personally.
That's what you did.
I look at my partner in Pomona. He's driven by college education, driven by mentoring in college professor at Cal Poly Pomona. He pulls the higher end students and probably the highest end students into an internship program, and he trains out of college and moves forward to what he considers a higher intellectual mapping side. I think we can compete all day long on both sides. I don't think there's a difference. There's definitely a pay scale difference where his side to start off with is going to get a lot more money, where our side takes a long time to get up to that point. And then you have our Orange County business partner, Steve Busby, who's the man.
Hey, Steve.
He believes in experience. You got to come here not just with education, but also with 20 years of experience, because he's not going to take the time to teach you the most basic stuff. He wants to go right into the weeds of the most complicated stuff that we have, and he does handle the most complicated stuff we have at the company.
Right. Okay. Awesome. I love it. As a business owner in the Inland Empire, there's a lot of things that we stress over. What's the one thing? There's many, but what's the one thing that just comes to your head first? Mind first, about what keeps you up at night? What do you worry about?
Most important thing is employees having a safe place to work, and that's financially. That's us being financially responsible. That's us being client driven, so that we are able to go get more work, so that they have a job tomorrow. One of the things that 2008 made me realize that hey, there might not be work tomorrow. I had planned on working for those two owners for the rest of my life. I had never thought that I would be in a situation where I was the owner, or that I was the one in charge from a ownership standpoint. And that's getting the clientele. So those are the things that keep me up, is financially solid and the ability to make sure that there's clientele for them to work every day.
Well, one thing I know about you, and this is kind of your reputation in the office, really in the industry, you are becoming a legend in your industry, and you probably don't even know it. Maybe you do. But is your ability to find business. Like, you have this knack. And I know, a couple guys in your office just laugh about it. Yeah, Steve found another job. I don't know if you can explain how you do that. Maybe you can just to help somebody else in the Inland Empire that might be watching this right now. What makes you unique in your approach to go out and find business? Because if there is a true rainmaker, that's Steve Busby. That's what you do.
Yeah. So it's everyone calls it luck.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, and that's what's funny. Everyone in the office says Steve got lucky again.
Yeah,
it's so true.
My dad told me a long time ago that luck is opportunity plus preparation. You and I both come from a baseball background.
Yeah.
It's luck when you hit a home run, but you had to have the opportunity. You had to have the pitch in your spot. You had to take the right swing, have the right timing. But all that is done.
All practice. All before.
Nobody else sees.
Right.
And that's the same thing here. Is there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of preparation that goes into each one of those opportunities to formulate my own luck. I probably read way more than I should, up to date on all the current events. I find that social venues are key, that you have to actually befriend people, understand where they're coming from, whether it's peers in the industry, so other business owners similar to us, and how we can help in our services, not to take any work from them, but to help them with their services. Go to things like the BIA and learn from other people, get introduced from older contacts. And then as you grow, you start formulating a plan with every person and every client that you meet, potential client you meet. And that is all based on really years of experience, just like the years of experience it takes for you to understand and to explain insurances or to do anything. You're going to take all those experiences and push them forward to your next potential client. And it's driven specifically for them. And every conversation has to be different. You can't have the same conversation from client to client, because they have certain needs, and all we are is providing a service that we can perform as easily as possible for them. And you got to open that gateway to them. You got to have that conversation, and most people are scared to have a conversation.
Well, and I think what's interesting is you're well read, but you're also well kept up on current events, and you were able to have a conversation about pretty much anything.
Yes.
At any given time. And that's key. And that's a unique talent that not everybody has. I don't have that talent. I can't do that. But I've seen you do that. And it's amazing.
Which we make fun of it because
Yeah.
I truly believe that I'm a master of nothing but a jack of all trades.
Right.
And that's what you have to be
Right.
to be able to do that. You have to have a little bit of understanding. We went to fight night with a great client. So Thursdays we take clients down once every 2 months, take clients down to fight night. We end up with one of our bigger clients, take down one of their PMs, older guy. He's way into cigars. Him and I had, a 10-minute conversation about cigars. And that's where my conversation could stop. That's all I knew. He went a little bit farther. He went into the 11th minute. And hey, bro, this is all I know about cigars.
That's funny.
But it's a real thing. To be able to have a conversation with anybody anywhere is a real thing.
Okay, so where's the funniest or the most bizarre place that you found a client?
Baseball.
Where it started? Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean,
Explain what you mean by baseball.
Yeah, with Little League Baseball, coaching Little League Baseball, and we were the team that was number one, and the team that was in last place, having to be real good friends with the actual head coach, and they beat us in the championship game, the first round of championship. So we're undefeated. They haven't won a game. I go to a meeting. I can't coach the game. I show up to the game late. We're losing. We end up losing that game, and then afterwards they come up and just thank us, and they can't believe they beat us, and the head coach goes, "Oh, by the way, do you know this person?" And no, we've never met anything. And he goes, "You guys should talk. You probably have something in common." And so we spent the next 20 minutes talking, and it ended up being the conversation. That 20-minute conversation led us to opening PBLA Surveying and taking our survey away from our engineering firm and turned into our largest client. And now it is primarily put us and open doors to multiple utility companies across the Western United States.
Coach Little League.
Coach Little League.
Coach Little League. I think that's the moral of that story. And I've heard that story before, and I was hoping you'd tell it. That's it's pretty cool. What's one thing that you thought you'd never do as a business owner, and now you find yourself doing it all the time?
Being a therapist.
Okay, explain that. Like for employees or for clients?
For employees.
Okay.
One of the hardest things is that, we all have it. We all have that, why am I doing this? Or, it's too much work. And you've got to build, when you're at the point as an employee where you have too much work, you've got to communicate.
Right.
And most employees do not communicate their feelings because they don't want that out.
So you mean when PBLA has too much work and you guys are
when
you guys are so busy,
yeah,
it's stressing out your employees.
It does.
Okay.
I mean, right now, currently we have, probably 18 crews that are going out that are 54 to 64 hours a week. They don't get to see their family. Internally in the office, you have people that are working 60 to 80 hours a week. And it becomes stressful, not only at the office place, but also at the workplace. And the managers are driven. So the managers, they want the more work. They want to take on more. And sometimes, just having a conversation to say, step back, look at yourself and find why you're in this position and what do you need to help you, especially at the management level.
Yeah.
Managers, especially my group from the bottom up, they know how to do everything. So they feel like if there's that extra push, they're going to do it themselves instead of training and actually guiding somebody else to get in that position that they don't have to take on the responsibility and pushing that down the actual umbrella, the chain of events, right? The chain of employees. They need to push that, hey, if you're at 60 hours every week, we need to make a change. If we got 4 people at 60 hours a week, that's probably the ability to hire 2 more people. Why are we doing this to ourselves? But they want to take that on. And the group I've created is amazing because they want to take on all that work. They are the most dedicated group of individuals. They truly love what they do. They truly understand the work. But with that comes the ability to want to be number one. And that means if I got to work 70 hours, I'm going to work 70 hours to get it done. And so when you breed the loyalty, when you breed that, sometimes you got to go backwards and go, it's not right for you to work 50 hours. It's not right for you to work 60. It's not right for you to work 70 all the time.
Right.
We've got to figure out ways to implement that down through management. And so there is a lot of therapy because when you have that mentality and no one's talking to you about it,
right,
you don't know when to break the ice and say I'm overburdened. And so I've found over the last couple of years that you got to have real conversations with management. You got to really find out where they're at. It's hard to get out of people. You see a time card with 70 hours, 2 months in a row, and
it's a lot of work.
They're not going to come to you.
Right.
It's good for them on the paycheck side.
Right.
It's not good if you're a salary employee, but you got to stop and have that conversation as an employee. You need to stop and go to your boss and say, stop, this is where I'm at.
Right.
And I need help. And then that triggers a whole bunch of events to get somebody else to help.
Do you find employees that are just hesitant to have those conversations? Are they scared of those conversations, or are they afraid of maybe, sometimes you have a 40-hour work week, right? But you get an extra 30 hours. You're still living on that extra 30 hours.
That is, yes.
All of a sudden your level of your lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
So
you have a different financial responsibility, right?
Yes.
I mean, as an employee, and you can work the extra hours. Well, I'm not going to get a Toyota Tacoma. I'm going to get a Toyota Tundra, and
Right.
All those things based on that overtime. So some people are in the case where they do have to work to financially keep the household going. There's other people that have their finances right. They just can't fail, so they're not going to let anyone know they're failing. And I think that's the beauty of the people that work for us. They're great people that don't want to see failure, which leads down the line to what our product is, and then to what the clients actually get at the end of the day.
Well, me and you've talked a lot about this, and it's depends on what your theory is on hiring. You can keep 18 crews, or you can add 6 crews, and maybe you go up to 24 crews. The problem there is, and again, living through the 2008 timeframe, is if business goes sour, now all of a sudden you got to get rid of 6, 7 crews. It might be the guys that are now. That's who you might be cutting. And I do like what you do. I appreciate what you do because you value your current employees. And that's we've talked a lot about this. That's one of the reasons you don't necessarily just hire another 6 crews, even though you can probably justify it. Yeah.
And that's the hard part is, that'd be great to have 4 or 5 more crews, but we got to pull time from what we're already doing, train those crews up to the way we do things. We do things different than the industry. Between the 3 of us and what our needs are as owners, we've created our own way to do stuff. And once you're here, we don't want you to leave. We don't want you to take that information out. And we also want you to retire here, which is the most important thing. And that's our goal is we went out and started this business to protect our families, to make sure that we were financially capable. So we want to provide that to everyone else that comes.
So talk about the Inland Empire real quick. Let's have a discussion about doing business here. What do you think? How do you like it? How's it been treating you guys? What's the climate out there?
Yeah. So from an Inland Empire standpoint,
And when I say that, I'm talking, Riverside, San Bernardino counties.
let's talk employee wise first.
Sure.
So, we have an office in LA. We have an office in Orange County. The ability for someone in the IE not to drive to LA or drive to Orange County allows us to actually get people that are in the marketplace locally, which helps us because the time that's spent in a car or vehicle helps on the mental side of when they come to work and what they're doing. I truly enjoy the fact that Newport Beach, the cost of living in Newport Beach is so expensive that the employee wages match to that. So they don't actually see the larger dollar amount. They see a larger dollar amount on a paycheck, but they're also paying more. So their cost of living, so they're actually making less in Orange County working for more money.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
That's the cost of living, right?
Where the IE, you get the most value for the employee, the most value that they're going to see. It's the same thing with LA. You're going to be too expensive. The cost of an employee there, the cost of living is so expensive. We have to hire them at a higher rate, and then they don't even get to see that higher rate because it's going to living costs.
Right.
So we get a good, solid group of people, very, very loyal people in the IE that I think is incredible, and they're hard workers. I mean, this is most of the employees come from some type of hardworking individual, whether it's in construction, they're trying to better themselves, or manufacturing. Also, I mean, I think some of the biggest, providers in here are grocery stores, grocery store warehouse, grocery store clerks are their parents. And those people are coming here to make a better life than their mom and dad at PBLA. And the IE has a ton of opportunity for growth in our sector. I think there needs to be more companies like us out here to give those job opportunities to people in the inland.
Okay. What about from a business standpoint, like client standpoint?
From a business standpoint, so we work, part of our scope of work is working within cities, park and rec in cities, and then where developers go. Developers have a tendency to go where money goes.
Sure.
IE has always been that leftover piece, both in Riverside and San Bernardino. You see the national companies come in, they can do it on a national level. They come in and do a big master plan development. They're doing that because they can get their prices down to do a 20 or 2,000 lot subdivision.
Right.
Where you can go down and do 4 homes in Newport Beach.
Right. It's like the same, you make the same amount of money.
So yes. So it is a giant, the big track stuff, that kind of stuff is good. The rehab stuff isn't here. There obviously needs to be an influx of money from an income standpoint, so that everything here does lean towards a developer coming in here and specializes in X, Y, and Z and can build that. So we don't really get involved in the central IE stuff.
Sure.
We hit the suburban stuff that's on the outside.
So if you're a new business owner, what advice would you give a new business owner that's starting a business in, I should say, Southern California? What are some of the pitfalls and some of the things that they've got to look out for that make sure that they avoid? And just a general business owner.
General business owner needs three things: needs a good attorney, needs a good CPA, and a good insurance person.
Okay.
So you're one of my three. Right?
Yeah.
You know my attorney, amazing.
Yep.
You know my CPA,
Yep.
great guy. Those three components is what every business owner that's successful has, no matter what. And that controls your liability in all aspects. I believe your tax liability, your legal liability with employees, clientels, contracts, and then obviously your insurance or HR liability.
Yeah. And I think it's also, just to add to that, I think it's important that all three of them work together.
Absolutely.
Too, that they know each other, that I can easily, and I know your accountant and I know your lawyer, I can easily pick up the phone and give either one of them a call if I needed something, and vice versa. So I think that's key.
Everything's a dream, from a business standpoint. When you start out, it's a dream. It's a vision in your own head, multiple visions. I laugh and joke because I tell everyone I got 13 voices in my head that talk to me all the time. But they contradict each other.
Yeah.
They talk and you got to somehow align yourself to your dream. That means, not only in your head, but also with your family, because you are going to take time away from everybody and everything that's around you to actually have a successful business. It's not something where you're instantly driving a Lamborghini and that's owning a business. And I think that's the misnomer with social media, is everyone thinks that they're going to instantly get rich when they own a business. No, it's the grind. And that's the grind that we talked about earlier, is you have to put in the grind. You have to do the same thing every day. Have to understand that you're driven by your dream, and that dream does not come true unless you're putting in the work.
Right. I remember my biggest not aha moment, but it was like, oh boy moment, when I started my insurance agency, was I don't get a check. Like, there is nothing guaranteed unless I go find it. And that was eye-opening for me. And that was something that I knew it was coming, but when the reality came, and all of a sudden, you had enough savings for so many months, and then that month where maybe you didn't have enough business to pay for that next month, that was stressful. And I remember that.
It's extremely stressful.
It's extremely. That's what I think people forget when you start a business. You get to work your own hours, but dude, your hours they change.
Yeah.
You're not a 9 to 5. You're a never close.
Yeah.
And you're working weekends and Christmas and holidays.
Yeah. I haven't taken a shower in 15 years without thinking about my business, which is.
Okay, I thought you were going to say you weren't taking a shower in 15 years. I was like, dude, where are we going here?
It's a real thing. I mean, you can't do anything in your life without thinking about your business and the decisions that you have to make, and things pop in your head, a phone call. My schedule, I start at 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning. And then I grind, and then I get to the office at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock is making sure that my management group is lined out with what I need done within the next 24 hours to 48 hours. And then I move forward into lunchtime, which is typically meetings, set up Teams meetings, talk to clientele, finish up stuff that's hanging fruit till about 3 o'clock. Then I make it a point to try and get home before 5 to make sure I saw my kids come home from school, make sure they knew dad was home. Went through that, and then go outside and talk on the phone probably for another 3 to 4 hours to make sure that the next deal or that make sure the client's taken care of. And it continues day in and day out. Saturdays and Sundays aren't spent all the time with family. They're spent going out fishing with a client, going out finding ways, and being able to separate and compartmentalize all your different time is critical to becoming what I believe is a good business owner, because your family has to feel like they're 100%. Your employee has to feel like you're 100%.
Right.
Your clients got to feel like you're 100%. Your partners have to feel that way. Your managers have to feel that way, that you're giving them 100% all the time.
So what's your philosophy on work-life balance? Is that anything that exists?
I don't
Is
think
that real?
I don't think it does exist.
Yeah.
I think
I'm with you.
If you want to cut off work, you're not succeeding.
Right.
Work will never leave you if you're true to what you're passionate about. I have a buddy that does Porsches. He's one of the top Porsche mechanics in the country. That guy, you can't have a conversation with him with somehow it turning back to Porsches, whether it's talking about his toolbox and how it applies to me.
Right.
And that passion is driven by him. The passion that I have is driven in the same fashion and you have to compartmentalize everything.
Yeah.
So that everyone feels like they're wanted.
So what would you say to that work-life balance person? I want work-life balance as a business owner.
I don't understand it. So part of part of my therapy to employees when they do come to me with that side is, well, you got to look inside, and there has to be some type of fear that you're engaged with. So your fear is that your family's not going to love you because you're spending too much time. Your fear is you're not going to be successful at work because you're spending too much time with your family. So you want to separate those.
Yeah.
Instead, the real balance act, and I think the ones that are super successful at our company and the clients that I have that are super successful, they find a way to merge it all without anyone knowing.
Interesting.
I think you do it.
Yeah.
I think, you've coached third base and first base, and I didn't let you coach third base.
You never let
I'm
me
a
over
control
there.
freak.
I was always first base coach. So we would sit at first base and just make fun of the third base coach.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was me.
That was you. That's what we did.
But there's many a times sitting out there, hoping a kid gets a base hit or gets hit. That we're inside joke.
Yeah, but it's so true.
They're sitting in that same position, hoping for that base hit or going through the motions where something doesn't pop into your mind.
And real quick, we never wanted a kid to get hit so he'd get hurt.
No,
This was his only way to get on base.
Yes.
Let's be clear. Okay.
So it takes you to, hey, I'm standing on the third base. I just gave sign to first, and oh man, what if I change this guy with this, or what if I got this software? And those moments pop in, but you're still focused on the game. You're still focused and giving your attention to the people who are playing, but it's still in the back of your mind. You have all this other information that's going through your head, and I think all of us do it. I think somehow we go and we cook, and whether you're the cook or whether you're the cleaner, right? It's always something in that relationship. During that period of time, you might not like cooking, you might not like cleaning, but you are thinking about something else. You're not thinking about the cooking and the cleaning. You actually have these trains of thought about work or about what you're going to do with your kid or child.
Right.
And that is the work-life balance. And not letting anyone know that you're thinking about those things allows you to be successful both at home and...
At what point, and I remember mine. I remember my point. What point in your career did you feel like, okay, not necessarily you can that you made it, but you felt like, okay, now I know this is going to make it. Like, I know this business model that I did is working, and you can kind of breathe a little easier.
Yeah, never.
Never?
Yeah. So I don't...
So you still feel like the stress that that it's not going to work?
I think there's two ways that you made everything work. Your company is being bought.
Okay.
And it's being bought by a much larger firm to make sure that the people that have done everything are taken care of in the future. Or it's an ESOP where the employees believe in it so much that they actually acquire the company themselves. And I believe that's when you've actually made it work. You can have all the money in the world. That doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
So tomorrow is more important than yesterday. And you have to learn from yesterday to get to tomorrow. And that's success. Success is growing. Success is understanding your failures, being able to communicate your failures so that way it either doesn't happen again or you do it better.
Yeah. That was awesome. I know for me, because I was just giving my example, it was when I was able to fire a top client, and I was like, whatever. It was like, didn't even stress me out. Having that client, it was one of my good clients at the time, but I was able to say, look, I am not doing your insurance anymore. And it was such a moment of like, okay, because he had worked for me for so long. I felt like I worked for him. I felt like I was his employee.
Yes.
And he was more stressful than it became to where that money was worth. But my business was doing well enough that I didn't necessarily need him anymore. And that was an awesome moment for me.
Yeah. So to equate that to like an analogy, baseball, back to baseball. Right?
Always baseball.
I never got on a tee, did tee work to learn instruction on how to hit. There was never a coach that sat there and said, it's perfect, you're a pro baseball player. Every coach that ever sat across from you on a tee put a ball in there and had something to say about your swing to correct.
Yeah. They could be, each one could be different.
Right. And if you go through that for a majority of your young childhood, and that's the one thing that you're really good at, that is how I perceive everyone around us has always given us criticism to hit the ball better. And that's in business. That's in the way we handle our employees. It's everything. You're constantly growing. You will never perfect the swing. And the only way you can actually have complete success is in retirement, where people actually say, you know what, that was the greatest hitter of all time. And I think that's truly it. I think everybody is looking for that instant gratification or that success to be here. But if you're not always constantly critiquing yourself, critiquing the individuals that work for you, and critiquing the overall business, then you don't have full success. Full success is constant change.
What I love about you, Steve, is I pretty much every conversation, I think I learned something new. You take business and you take life, you take your philosophy on how you operate to really a different level than most people. I think that has a lot to do with your success. And also, you don't care.
No.
Like, I mean, that's something that we can't take lightly here. Like Steve, if you say no to Steve, he don't care. He doesn't care. If you say yes to Steve, he cares, but it's, he's not going to go home and tell his wife about it, but he cares about his family. He cares about his employees, but, for most part, like it's whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, the freedoms that we have every day, we don't really take advantage of. To me, this is the most awe-inspiring times. Right now, we get to live in the best time in modern man right now today.
Yeah.
We have instant access on a phone to unlimited information. We have the ability to communicate instantly with anybody. We have food that's delivered to our door. We have crazy items that we don't even have to shop at. And here we sit and we worry about some things that don't even matter.
Right.
Don't even care. Take advantage of what's here. I mean, if we went back 200 years and how we came across America and what they had to go through and the surveyors, I mean, we call surveys, the survey party, right? They were in horses and wagon, and they came across with a party of 20, 25 people from the east to the west, gold rush, and they had to map out the pathway for railroad.
It's crazy.
And these giant survey parties, right? Giant cooks, everything, all a part of this to come out to map out
crazy
land.
Dangerous when they were doing that.
Yeah, fighting Indians. Yeah. I mean, they had military
wild
that had
animals.
them take through stuff.
It was crazy.
Animals, everything, just chaos. 200 years ago,
right?
And here today, one of our guys can get out of a truck, hit 2 buttons, and they're connected to GPS satellites that will tell them where they need to be anywhere in space.
That's crazy. So you kind of got political a little bit. So I don't want to make this a political discussion at all. But how has the political climate affected you doing business here in Southern California?
Yeah, so we've done 40 million square feet of industrial building in the last 10 years. When you start talking about tariffs, you start talking about how things are. Is it manufacturing? Is it stuff coming over via port or border? Sure. And it's stored in a place to be able to wait for a consumer to buy. It's all slowed down. Yeah. From a political standpoint, and once the tariffs get going again, and the things get settled out again, they'll find a path, and these developers and these end users will find a path to obviously make money because everyone's always looking for growth. Right. Everyone's always trying to figure out the best way to do it, and they'll change logistics and they'll change the opportunity, maybe smaller buildings, whatever. But right now, we're almost at a standstill of industrial building because of that. But because we're diversified, we're able to move those people over into different regions, right? Different sectors. And so those people that were working on industrial buildings also have the knowledge of and understanding of utilities. So they've moved over to our utility side, and they're helping create base maps and do other things on the utility side. So we're able to keep that employee, even though the market has dipped on the industrial side, those employees are now moving over. Then the other thing is I believe that residential is going to come back politically. I think it's been terrible on the entire resident. It's way too much money for a home.
Absolutely. Rents are too high and too much money for a home.
And that's the cost put on a developer.
Right.
A developer, it's already risky enough. Everyone thinks developers are these super rich people. That's not true. Developers are the people that are the ultimate gambler. Right. When it comes to this.
Right.
They're buying a piece of dirt with no future knowledge of what is going to encumber that piece of dirt to move. So they buy this big piece of dirt and they say, here's my dream to build, 500 lots, 500 homes on it. They've got to walk through all the different government agencies to be able to get through environmental, to be able to get through the actual design of the project. And we've seen projects take 13, 14, 18 years. Citrus Plaza, Mountain Grove, we were a part of that. My business partner was heavy into that. That was an 18-year entitlement process.
Wow.
And where it sits is in County of San Bernardino, surrounded by the city of Redlands. 18 years just for us to break ground on that. And that developer had to take that risk for 18 years. And there's nothing I see in the pipeline that's actually helping that process feel faster. So you have these giant risk takers that are able to convince a bank to hold on to these assets and to help them get through all these soft costs and all the different environmental stuff and all the different entitlement processes. And they're taking this giant upfront risk with no reward, none whatsoever. Right. Until they're ready to move. And it's insane. And that's all based on political stuff.
Political. Nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to change it. It's
Nope.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, everyone in the different agencies wants to do their part, but it's timing. It's how you get from, you have to have this done to move forward with this part. You have to get this done before you move forward with this part. And that time constraint kills everybody. Kills everybody in the industry from a development side.
Yeah, it's feast or famine in that industry. And right now it's kind of on a downturn. Fast forward 10 years. Someone's making a documentary about your business. What's the one scene that has to be in it?
No, I think it's my right-hand man running the whole show.
So
my right-hand person running the whole show by himself.
Okay, so that's kind of the climax. Like that's what you want to have happen when the documentary is written. You want it to end with you just passing the torch. What would that mean?
Well, I'd be if I passed the torch in that fashion, that would be the ultimate success. That'd be walking into retirement with the batting title, being the best hitter in Major League Baseball, right? I mean, that's what all the criticism's for.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's all I got. Thanks, Steve, for meeting with me today. This has been a lot of fun. Look forward to doing this again in the future. Talk to you soon.